You're watching Cayuga Bytes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Cayuga Bytes. My name is Mike Perry, and joining me today is Joshua Hart and Samantha Brodeur, if I'm saying that right.
You got it. Not everybody gets it on the first time.
That's
So that's impressive. Yeah, it is. I actually used to live in Montreal, and then we moved here.
You seem
So
like a very interesting person. I don't know if we'll be able to contain your whole intro in this episode because there's so many things that you do.
yeah.
So you're from Montreal.
Yeah, well, so it's a long story. So my grandparents immigrated here, and my dad was in the military and Customs and Border Patrol. So we moved there. I was like an Army brat, born in Fort Campbell, and then we moved to Canada. And unfortunately, I wasn't born there, but my sister and my brother were. So
Okay.
they have dual citizenship. I missed out on that, but I lived there till I was like 10 years old, and then we moved back here. So it was really neat.
And now you're at Cayuga as a psychology major.
Yes, I can't wait. I'm so excited. It's taken me 10 years to get here, so it's like
everyone's journey is different, you know? So
yeah, that's true.
So, Sam, can you tell us about Stress Talk with Sam, like what inspired you and how that came about?
Yeah, so what inspired me is, like I said, I've been out of school for 10 years. I'm just coming back into it. And through those 10 years, I've been through a lot of trials and tribulations in my life and overcome a lot of issues like depression, stress, anxiety. I still struggle with them from time to time, like who doesn't? But I've picked up all these practices and useful techniques that I've told my friends in my life, hey, try this or do this. And they're like, that's really helpful. You should write about it. And so I was lost for a time period. I didn't know what to do or where to go with it. And then all of a sudden this was presented to me. And I was a little bit nervous at first to be so vulnerable about it, I guess is the best way to put it. But then I just shot my shot and it happened. So it's like a dream coming into fruition, which is really cool.
And I know exactly what you mean with you feel vulnerable, like, oh my gosh, I'm really putting myself out there for all these people to see. But at some point you have to shoot your shot, you know?
Oh, for sure. You have to step out of that comfort zone. And that's another piece I want to write on is stepping out of your comfort zone and just going for it. The things that you're passionate about. I am so passionate about meditation and de-stress techniques. And because mental health is something that it still has a stigma against it. We talk about it more so than we did before, but people still they still have reservations against it. So it's okay to meditate. It's okay to de-stress in whatever way healthily, that you can. It's just using those techniques and kind of getting to the root of your problem and going from there.
And that can be annoying, we're all stressed, like you said, but people view stress as a form of weakness, oh, you can't handle whatever you're going through in life. It's no, that's just part of being a human, you know?
So. Oh, 100%. People are like, oh, well, you're too stressed out, you can't do this, or, oh, she's too stressed out, or whatever they say. And it's no, it's just balancing things. It's all about balance. We all have stressors, good and bad. So it's just about the balance of the two.
You're watching Cayuga Bytes.
So we would just like to remind you that the SOMA Showcase is coming up on Wednesday, March 31st. And art professor Melissa Johnson has detailed some of the rules in this week's Collegian. Plus, there's a bunch of other fun contests planned, which we will hopefully learn more about in upcoming issues. And hopefully we will also learn about how students can enter. So yeah, just keep on reading the upcoming issues of the Collegian to learn how you can participate in the contests in this month's showcase coming up March 31st.
Corinne Stevens will be covering the upcoming virtual game night. You can read more about that on the back page of this week's Collegian.
Com 101 student Haley Newman shared what it was like for her and her coworkers to receive both shots of the vaccine. You can read more about her experience in this week's issue of the Collegian. You're watching Cayuga Bytes.
I wrote about in my how I see it about how I think the NBA All-Star game was just put on for money, which, it's no big secret, but to host it in a major city like Atlanta, like a lot of fans were saying, like, why didn't you host it in like Salt Lake City or like somewhere less party, like you know what I mean? And I think it shouldn't have happened at all to start with, because people's lives matter more than a basketball game or money. But that's what everyone's been saying since the season started. And if the players are okay with it, then I guess I'm okay with it, because the players have enough rights through their union that they wouldn't have to play if they really didn't want to. But you have to keep in mind that they want to get money too. So it's kind of like, I don't want to stop them from earning their living, because I don't think the players get supported enough. I think, like for example, like when a player asks for a trade, they're a diva. But when a team trades them with no warning, the team catches no flack. So I always try and back the players, which is why I guess I'm all in all okay with it. But at the same time, and this is a problem throughout society, right? Not just sports. Like, we need to stop caring more about money than people's lives. But rant over.
I get that 100%. You see that like with a lot of things, and it's just really sad how we care about more money than actual values of humans. I'm like an NFL fan, so like, but like not a super fan. Like, I don't know, like I know enough players, but like not. They're like, I feel like oftentimes when you say you're a fan of like a certain sport, people are like, well, what
Do you know
is
this player?
yeah, what's his dog's name? What's his second niece's twice removed brother's name? And I'm like, I just like
Well,
TV. Watch it. Like,
I saw a tweet today that said, "Why are men uncomfortable with women being knowledgeable about sports?" And it's like, because men, well, I shouldn't generalize, but people don't like when other people know more than them, and like that's just anything.
yeah, that's a very fair point. And I feel like I don't know. I feel like the same way. People just don't, they got to come through from, oh my gosh, I can't talk. They got to come through from a more understanding perspective. Like, I feel like if we look from the outside, the bigger things, like maybe it's not somebody just like knows more than you, but maybe they just like, you can learn something for them. And they're not trying to be like, oh, I know this, I know that, I know this. I just don't understand why we can't just be like, oh, that's really cool that you know that. I'm glad you know that. Or that's something I didn't know. Or, hey, did you know this? Like, I just wish people were more open-minded.
It's
And
okay to not know. Joe Biden used an executive order to allow transgender athletes to compete in their non-biological sport, wiping out Title IX, which was passed to ensure equal opportunities in sports for women. As someone who has a sibling who's transitioning right now, how I feel about it is, if someone wants to be a man or a woman, that's up to them. And like, if they want to compete in the sport that they feel is their gender, then they're not, I think so many people take it as, oh, they're just switching so they can win. That's not at all why they're doing it. They want to do it so they can be who they are and not have to compete. Like, that would be so jarring for me to compete in a women's league. Like, I wouldn't be comfortable with it for a number of reasons. And like, I just think it's so annoying that the first thing people jump to is, oh, they're just doing it because they want to win, or you know what I mean? That's just such an elementary way of thinking about it.
I agree. I'm like, what makes them jump to that conclusion so fast? It's not that like they can't, I feel like they can't see past the fact that this person, that's who they are inside, and they want to be that person outside. And it's not fair, like, to a person to be like, oh, you're just doing that so you can win now. Oh, like, that's who they are. Like, let them be who they are. You are who you are. Let them be who they are.
Exactly.
I think I'm glad that law passed, because like, I can't quote the exact source, but like, if you look at like suicide rates within transgender people, like when laws like this are passed, like the suicide rates go down, literally. Like, this has effect on people's mental health. So
Like the rainbow at the end of the storm for them, and it's like a little bit of light shining through like the cloud. Like when it's like a rainstorm and it's really sunny out and it's raining, but the little light comes through. I think it's a positive thing.
Great analogy. Governor Cuomo. All I really have to say is if you're refusing to resign after a third ex-staffer says that you sexually harassed them, and like if you live in central New York, like you drive around and you see like all like the F Cuomo signs, and like, you know, like people do not like him as our governor. And I think that that's a common thought between the cities and outside of the cities in the state of New York. And if I was that heavily disliked, I would just go home, you know? Like I just can't relate. And like a third ex-staffer saying that he did that, it's kind of like, come on. Like at what point do we just
That's what I was going to say too. At what point do you realize your wrongdoings have consequences? Like at what point do you realize that no, they like I read a news article, it was like last week, and he was saying something about how the New Yorkers voted him in. He works for them, so he's not going to resign. And his apology was really just like empty anyway. And it's like, at what point do you realize, like, yeah, we may have voted you in, okay? Like, but now we are realizing, hey, maybe that was a mistake. And like, we can't just have people governing the whole state that are being accused now by a third. Like, that's so wrong. It's so wrong. And the fact that he's just like basically refusing to leave. It's like when you try to evict somebody and they won't leave. It's like,
yeah. Yeah,
no.
no, for real though. Like is the epitome of like so many people these days are like, I hate politicians. They're all the same. Like they don't really care about their constituents. And like he's like the textbook definition of like people, like what people hate in a politician, you know?
I agree 100%. And I was watching his briefings for the longest time, and increasingly every single one, he was just very rude to any of the reporters that were asking him questions, even if they were valid questions. He was extremely rude, and he would invalidate them and make fun of them. Not like really make fun of them, but like come back at them in ways that you would talk to a child.
Like
And
unnecessarily.
yeah. Oh, 100%. And it's like, I'm sitting there as a New Yorker watching this, and I'm like, this is embarrassing. And then he has the time to like write a book during the whole thing. It's just crazy to me. At what point do you say like, hey, maybe I should get out of here?
Tell it how it is. Dr. Seuss Curators, the foundation that oversees his legacy, banned some of his books which were written more than 30 years ago because of insensitive content. My thoughts to start this out: not all of Dr. Seuss's books were banned. I know that he wrote some books in connection with the government as like a form of propaganda, so I don't take all of his writings as him per se. And it'd be one thing if they banned all his books and completely canceled him, but they only took away insensitive content. So to me, that's not like cancel culture. That's more like revision, necessary revision.
I think it's only six of his books have stopped being published because of some racially insensitive material.
What I think is crazy about that is I had never even heard of those books. Like some of them, I think one of them I had. So I'm like, yeah, like stop it. You know what I mean? And it was like, I think the Seuss family decision to do it as well. And like people are so fired up, like, oh, they're canceling Dr. Seuss, they're doing this. I'm like, are you guys buying those books right now? Like, how is this like I'm like, you guys read Dr. Seuss every night? Are you guys buying those books? Did you ever even know about those books? No? Okay. Like, why is it a big deal?
Yeah, I mean, I had prior to that story, I only heard of probably two of those six books. I mean, it's not like they're like any of his like most popular works or anything. They're like his like his early stuff. So it's not his most famous works.
I'm the same, like that, like what you said, Josh. I'm the same. Like I had heard maybe one or two of them, and I'm like, it's not affecting my life. If it's going to make somebody's life better, and I mean, again, I think it was the Seuss family decision to do it. So I'm like, if it's gonna benefit people overall, instead of just like complaining about it and keeping things the way they were. We can't like grow as a society without changing some things. And it's a positive change. So I guess I just don't understand why people are so upset.
Yes. Yes.
I will say, I mean, obviously, with like any type of a censorship like this, there's like two sides. Some people will say, well, yeah, that obviously, like a lot of those things, the reasons they're censoring those books for, yeah, that obviously that was a long time ago, and things are a lot different now, and we should probably, but then there's also like the other side that says that, like, people are being too like politically correct about certain things, and you shouldn't censor censor history and like just forget this ever happened. And yeah, there's a bunch of different sides to these kinds of topics, and it's it's easy to understand like why there's different perspectives on these certain things.
Isn't there a saying too that says, if we don't remember our history, we're doomed to repeat it?
This is true. This is true.
When Josh said this thing about like we need to remember our history, that's what the first thought that popped into my mind.
Son's name.
His name's Luc, Luc. It's like the French way of spelling it. So
Very interesting. My son is named Levi. He's 9 months old.
oh, congratulations, baby. Mine's 7 years old, and full of sass. Sassy and 7. He
It's a very
says
French name.
he said, Mom, when he turned 7, he's like, Mom, 7-year-olds are really, really sassy, but when they turn 8, they'll be okay. They're fine from there. I was like, okay.
Seems like he's got to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
The things kids say.
I could write a book on all of the things he says. Like I could just go on like a book of every single thing he says, because it blows my mind how like witty he is, and like I guess how much kids pick up from us that we don't even realize. Like if I'm just a little bit sarcastic, he will take that sarcasm and amplify it by like 100, and I'm like, I can't even like say anything because you're not wrong. Like
There was a player for the New York Knicks, Julius Randle, who like he was doing terrible last season. Not terrible, but he's just done like way better this season than last season. People are kind of like, what happened? And like one of the things he pointed out was he was this offseason, he was playing with his son, and his son always tries to copy what he does on the court, right? So his wife is the referee for their home games. And when they were playing on his little hoop in the living room, he fouled him, like the player fouled his son. And his son turned to his wife, the referee, and was like, are you kidding me? You're not going to call that? And he had to take a step back and be like, oh my gosh, like that's what I'm doing on the court. And he's copying. So that's so funny that you say that, because we really like, I don't know. I'm a huge NBA fan. So I always try and relate things to basketball. Sorry.
no, don't, that you have to relate things to what you want to relate them to, or what's most relatable to your life. And like I love when people talk about what's so passionate, what they're passionate about, and relate like small things to that bigger thing. I think that's really cool. And I think people certain times, like I think like how you just apologize for it, I think we do that because oftentimes we're like, oh, am I just like being non-relatable, or like am I being too much? And I don't think that anybody's too much. I think we got to look at it like as a perspective of this is something somebody's super passionate about, and if they can relate it to different things in different ways, then just let it roll, and it's cool.
So you work in a restaurant. Restaurants in New York State may soon open with 75% capacity. Thoughts?
So I am very excited that we're finally to this point, because it's been a long time coming. And back when it started, I understand the premise behind it, and I believe like we need to keep people's lives safe. But at the same time, I was like, there's a feeling in the pit of my stomach, like, what am I going to do? Because that's my only income. So then we opened back up, and the restrictions behind it, it's a give and take, I guess. Like I'm glad that they are what they are, but I work in a bar restaurant, and it's generally only me there. So I'm the server and the bartender. So it's very hard in the area that I live in to they don't want to wear masks here. They're not like, and then they take it out on you. So they're like, well, I'm not doing this. You can't make me do this. And then it's very hard. So I'm like glad that we're opening to 75%. It'll definitely be more like shifts for me, like more income coming in, but at the same time, it's very hard to control, especially like with like now that we're allowed to play darts and pool and everything like that. I have to keep an eye on the bar, the restaurant part, which is I can see the whole thing. But now I have to make sure all the darts are sanitized, everything's sanitized like right after. Other people aren't playing, like you have to play certain tables and everything have to play together, and the pool table, like I have to make sure everything's like cleaned there, and it's just it's a lot. It's a lot. And our business that I'm the manager there. So it took such a hit like with COVID that we can't afford to have another bartender and server on at the same time. So it is left up to me. So I'm like, like I'm glad about it that we're getting to this point, but it is a little bit stressful.
No, that sounds insane. Like I don't know how.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. We're right on. I live in Pulaski and I work at a small bar called the Richland Hotel, and it's right on a snowmobile and ATV trail. So people are like, you guys get business out there? I'm like, yeah, we're actually very busy all the time because we're right on that trail. So, and it's been hard with like people are still traveling from out of state here. So they don't get the restrictions. They don't understand. And we have salmon season up here. During that was really tough because people from like Texas come up, people from New Jersey, people from everywhere. And they think that like, because their things are so different, that it's like the same way here and they don't really follow rules. And it's really hard, believe it or not, to tell a drunk person what to do. Like they're like a toddler that doesn't listen. Like
Yeah, I mean, I salute you and everyone else in like the kitchen service industry with what you guys are going through. Like, I mean, it's weird to me that they're leaving like forcing people to wear a mask. They're forcing that upon the staff of the establishment rather than like, if you're going to enforce it as like a state law, like you should use some kind of state service to help enforce it. Is what I'm saying making sense?
oh my gosh, absolutely. I wish, because it falls back on the restaurant staff more than anything, because we get like yelled at and like we get attitude yelled at, called names.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Does the business get fined if people are there not wearing masks?
Yep.
Even though, like, again, how are you supposed to control that with just your business staff? Like,
Yep.
Is every business supposed to hire like a separate security unit? Like,
Yeah, we get fined $10,000 by the liquor board. I believe it's close to that number, and you only have three strikes. So yeah, 3 strikes. We got called on once. And the crazy thing is they go by what people say. So they do send people from the liquor board out. However, if somebody calls the liquor board and is just upset at your business because you made them follow rules or whatever, they can call the liquor board and report you. And then the liquor board will call your bar and you'll get a point. We got one that way. So.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's ruthless. It is a ruthless business to be in right now. Like I said, I get you know what I mean? We have to keep people safe. And I understand that 100%. And I do have a lot of like old timers that come in and they're my regulars and I want to keep them safe, you know, but it's hard when nobody will work with each other and like respect the bar staff, respect the rules. It's just like, and then we get in trouble regardless of what we do. So we could like sneeze in the wrong direction and then we're in trouble. Like it's crazy.
I really am glad that like things are starting to like reopen and things are like opening to like higher capacity, and I'm glad a lot of things are getting better because it's another sign that we're heading in the right direction with this. I'm just hoping people don't screw it up again.
I can get on that train. I agree. I'm like so glad. I think it's going to help a lot of people's mental health too, because I think a lot of people, when they are just stuck in their homes and they're just away from people and interaction like that, it wears on you. It wears.
yeah.
I'm an extrovert, so I'm like, I was struggling really hard.
So I recently made a TikTok featuring my golden retriever, Luca. And it to give you a little preview, I don't use those things you slide under your door in the winter to stop the draft from coming in. I don't use one, and you'll see why in that TikTok.
So some people put those things under their doors to like stop the draft or like stop the cold from coming in during the winter. Personally, I just use my golden retriever and he does just fine. Isn't that right, Luca?
Thank you so much for watching Cayuga Bytes. Josh, as always, it is a pleasure. Sam, I'm so happy that you came. I would encourage you to come again next week. Did you have fun?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I want to come every week now.
I mean, you were just giving out gems as far as mental health goes. Like, everyone should listen, whether they're a student or not, in my opinion.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I like being here. I think this is great. This whole program is great. And hopefully more people come on.
And like, that just shows like we just need more students to come on here. Like everyone, like my thing is like, everyone's a celebrity, right? Like everyone has a story, you know what I mean? And I would love to hear people's stories. So come join us on the Collegian, whether you're in the Auburn campus or Fulton campus. We want to hear from you.
I think this is really cool. Like, it's really different, but like super cool. Like, what other place does this? It's like so cool. You get to come and you get to talk about different things, and just kind of like, it's nice to like spend time with people and talk about different things.
That was awesome. Wow.
Amazing.
Interesting. Yeah, Mary thumbs up us. That's a verb. Josh, you're muted. Crap. But anyway, get out of here. The things kids say. Josh, was that a fake laugh or a real laugh? Crap, what was I going to say? Wow. So. Oh, never. Awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Interesting. Crap. Zoom out.
Zoom out.
Have a good one, guys.